All right, so welcome for coming to the diversity and inclusivity discussion today. I'm Tracy. My name is Tracy Hines, and I am a JavaScript developer and also the education community manager at the Node Foundation. What I'm hoping that we get out of this today is getting to have a discussion. So we're going to hear from some lovely people who have offered to share some of their own experiences about working in the community. But we want to hear from y'all as well. So like this is absolutely a conversation about our experiences and how we can make it better. Because as we heard earlier, it's not great. And we're trying to make it better. And this is kind of a space where we can talk about the stuff that we've experienced in a way that maybe, isn't just solutions, but is also, where we've been and why we think solutions need to happen. I'm just short. I'm so short. I just want to share, I've been a programmer for 4.5 years. Some people don't know that about me. I worked in healthcare administration. I was a baker professionally. I was a restaurant manager for many years. So as a career transitioner, I find programming really powerful. It absolutely brought me from a much lower salary and also put me in a place of feeling valued as an employee. Sometimes as a commodity, because we can be code monkeys. But the other side to that is that because we're in such high demand, it means that some people have to treat you with more respect, even if they don't want to. So that was kind of a nice place to be. It's also empowered me by being able to teach others. So because I was able to learn programming through an alternative means, which was being community taught and learning on my own, it meant that I was able to find a sense of confidence that I didn't have when I was younger by doing that, and then feeling even more confidence when I show up at a place I think I know nothing and I have something to offer to somebody else. So that's been my short stint thus far, and me being able to combine past talents with my programming is why I have the job that I have today, which is really incredible and really rewarding. So that's really exciting. I'm really thankful to get to offer that today in this session. So yeah, I think that's it for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tracy. All right, hello. I'm Ashley Briscoe. I am a program manager in the Open Tech part of IBM. And I'm really excited about all you guys showing up today because I really feel like there's a great conversation to be had. And this morning, Ashley really kind of, segued nicely to having an open-ended conversation because there's a lot of work to be done, but I also feel like there's been progress. And we have a wonderful mixture of women and other underrepresented groups in here, but there's a lot to be done. So there's a couple things I just really wanted to spend a minute, because we only have a minute, to talk about just a few things. I really feel like there's 3 ways that we can all get involved, and I would love suggestions. I would love you guys to open up, and these women are going to share their experiences as well. So I think we need to encourage, I think we need to dispel, and I think we need to mentor. So a couple of those are pretty intuitive, but we need to encourage young women, young generations earlier. So why is coding exciting? How can they get involved and really start to create with their own hands? As Tracy said, it's powerful. Getting there and developing something that you can then look at and see it in work, that's powerful. So we need to encourage girls in middle school. How do we do that? There's different opportunities. There's coding camps. There's all sorts of technical things showing up in schools. So, we need to get out there and maybe get involved in some of those. We need to dispel the rhetoric that the technical industry is dominated by one group or another. Whether or not that might be true, it's discussion that I think needs to just go away because, as Ashley said this morning, yes, you can. So it's irrelevant what people group dominates it right now. So let's just give them the expectation of success out front. And then mentoring, I think that's pretty obvious. You guys are all successful in your careers. You've taken different paths. Everybody can be a mentor some way or another. I have a unique path to where I've landed in the technical side of things, and here I am. So, you know, there is just a lot of opportunity out there. So really, technology touches every single industry, as you guys know. I mean, there isn't an industry anymore that technical work and coding and program is not critical. I mean, retail, super important, right? Finance, very important. Every industry, technology touches it. So, I love the quote this morning. It was kind of perfect for the 1 minute I was going to spend. To make Go successful, we need everybody, and everybody's not here. So, that being said, I have a few questions, and I would like feedback from you guys as well. So, first of all, I would love for you to introduce yourself and spend a minute kind of talking about your experience.
Thank you. My name is Sarah Meyer. I actually recognize a lot of faces in this room. Hi, guys. My name tag still says Rent the Runway. I actually started at BuzzFeed New York about 2 weeks ago, which is very exciting. I would say that my interests as a web developer are accessibility and performance. I'm very interested in progressive web apps. I was a math major in school, and that is sort of how I came to programming. My college had a bizarre requirement that you had to take half your classes outside your major. And so I took comp sci classes to sort of scratch the same itch that the math classes were filling for me. And that had the result of setting me on this career path eventually.
Hi, my name is Uzma Siddiqui. I work for IBM, and I got introduced to Node through developing IoT applications. So there's just a natural synergy between Node and IoT, and I was hooked. So I'm just having a lot of fun exploring what we can do with it. And I always loved math. I loved problem solving. I started off with math, and then I was looking into engineering and architecture, and then I found programming, and the results were immediate. You didn't have to wait for a building to come up. It was extremely satisfying and very powerful, and here I am.
So I don't know if anyone in the audience has a particular course or path that they would be interested in sharing, because one of the things that I would like to take away is what are some of the ways that we can further get the younger generation, or even, you know, it could be our generation, more interested in Node specifically, or any side of technology. Does anyone have anything they would like to share? Yes. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is.
I think we can.
I organize 2 meetup groups in Copenhagen. I really want to know how I can improve diversity, but I feel like it's, in my perspective, see it's difficult for me to maybe lead that diversity of like improving that, because I'm one of the ones that are overrepresented. So how can I help that? Can I be the one that say you should really come, and or do I need to find somebody from that group and then force them to do it?
Does anyone have any feedback for him? I think that's a great question. Any thoughts around how he could really, because you're making an effort, so how can we help him? Any ideas?
I think I end up being very heavily focused on events, sort of events-driven ways of getting people involved, because the in-person experience, I think, is way more powerful for getting people started and getting them to continue to return. So in my experience with that, I would say being as encouraging as possible and educating yourself on what it means to be inclusive and being supportive and respectful to other people's experiences, I find goes a long way towards getting more people helping and being involved and then sticking around. But what I find most is helping raise up other people. So it's not forcing them necessarily. I know that it's like, I totally get it. But it's not like, yeah, you clearly don't want to coerce someone into like helping out or being a part of something, because they will very quickly leave. But if you make it an awesome environment for them to be in, then they're going to want to stick around. They're going to want to help out. Yeah, that's what I would say. But absolutely helping lift them up when other people are not really helping them.
But can I lead that change as a
Not only can you lead that change, it's actually part of your responsibility as a steward of the community to lead that change. As a white male perceived, right? And as an overrepresented group, the least horrible things will happen to you if you stand up for marginalized groups. The worst thing that could possibly happen to you is someone turns around and makes fun of you for 5 seconds. The worst thing that could happen to me when I stand up to someone who's bullying me is get told to commit suicide. So it's not just something you can do as a member of the community that's overrepresented. I believe it's part of your responsibility as someone who wants to be a steward of the community to bring people in from marginalized groups and prove that you have a safe space for them. But it does come with that responsibility. Like, it's going to be a lot of hard work to prove that you have a safe space. I have yet to find a truly safe space in tech. Yes. Would I relate to you? A little, yes. I'm fairly privileged on the spectrum. So yeah, trying to get people to come to an event. I can't promise their safety, but I'm also honest with them about it. For instance, when I encourage women of color or trans women to speak at events, I warn them, you're gonna get shit for it. And I'm honest with them about it. But if you can't prove a truly safe space, then you have to be honest with them about it, at the very least. But I feel like a lot of white men in general like to sit around and say, but I can't do anything, or what can I do? You can do lots of things with very little repercussion. And so, that's pretty much what I got on that one.
So she just empowered you to go. Yeah. And we'll be checking back with you in a little while. All right? Okay. So if you guys could give advice, giving guidance, let's say you're mentors. What would you say to someone that's, just really focused on math? Maybe she was a baker. What would you say to give someone advice or guidance so that they could really bust in and get engaged with the Node community or technology in general? You have any thoughts about that?
Okay. So first of all, I would say that the baker and the person who is actively a math major in school are already in very different situations. I work with an organization called ScriptEd in New York that is focused on teaching high school students in schools that don't have computer science education programs basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I had a boss of mine stand up on a panel in front of those kids and say, it doesn't matter what you major in, you can find a career in tech anyway. The fact is that that may be true, but it was going to be infinitely harder for those kids to do that than for him. He was a film major, but when he, after that, he fell into programming very naturally. That was something that he said. The process is not going to be natural or painless for low-income New York City high school students. The film degrees that are even accessible to them are going to have their resumes laughed out the door, are going to cut them off from the connections that they need to make in the industry. I think it is, you actually do, in a sense, have to let people know what they are getting themselves into. And you have to let them know about the barriers that they face, so that when they see those, when they hit those barriers, they don't wonder if the problem is them. Because thinking that the problem is you is the killer of the confidence that you need to succeed in, really quite a hard industry. We actually do solve hard problems. I don't think that it is more difficult than being a baker, but I do think that it is a combination. There is a combination of honestly boredom in tech and the difficulty in acquiring the foundational skills that you need, simply because math and science are the things worst taught, at least in the American education system. People, if somebody does badly in an English class, they don't think oh, well, now I can't ever write again. But if somebody has one bad math teacher, STEM itself can get closed off to them forever. So yeah, the advice that I would give anyone who is even vaguely interested in tech is the advice that I generally give, which is take as many science and math, get as much exposure to science and math as you possibly can. Every single bit of it will help you. A physics class will help you in your web programming job. A chemistry class will help you in your web programming job. And it's not just the fact that you take it, it's not just the classes that you take, it's the perception that that creates of you for other people. Because honestly, I think literally anyone could do this job if they were given the chance. And it's that if that is where the failure occurs.
I agree with all of that. I think the basic thing is problem solving. As long as all these classes that you're talking about, it's all about problem solving, how you can break things down, take them apart, put them back together again. And as long as your background shows that you're a problem solver, you're good to go. And then it's just a matter of acquiring the necessary skills. But also, we have to start young. For little girls, we need to give them Lego sets. We need to give them robotic toolkits. We need to give them all these cool toys that we usually give only boys, right? You have to open new doors for them when they're young, so they don't feel limited that, oh, that's a boys' game, or, that's what boys do, that's what men do. They need to see that the engineers around them are both men and women, so that they know that they can aspire to be both. So I think it needs to start young. You start with your nieces, your nephews, your friends' kids, your own kids, and you inspire them that just because you're a girl doesn't mean that you have to be, there's only one kind of role that you aspire to. You can be anything. As long as you have a brain, you can solve a problem. And that's all there is to it.
So, I noticed that we're talking a lot about basically the pipeline issue of get more people into the pipeline. And to me, the more acute problem is how do you get that pipeline to, not be really leaky? Because once you get into the pipeline, what happens is you just drop them along the way and it's pointless, right? There are people here right now at this conference. There are people in the Node community right now, and some of them are flocking out of the place. And there's no point in educating a bunch of people if they're going to fall into the same toxic environment that's leading people to just leave altogether and find other places to go to. So while I appreciate that, I'm wondering if we're going to talk more about what can we do now to make this current place more welcoming and better.
I actually echo her sentiment with the analogy that, we can fix the pipeline all we want, but until it stops leading into a giant pit of radioactive sewage, are we really fixing anything? Frankly, I feel more and more alienated every time I go to a Node conference because more and more bad behavior goes unattended to and ignored. And I actually don't want to fix the pipeline problem until we fix the pit of toxic sewage we dump these girls into once they do learn tech. Because I feel like it goes back to what I was saying earlier about being honest about the space you're creating. We're putting a great big neon sign that says tech is great, come be in tech, there's lots of women engineers, and then you show up and you realize how miserable most of us are. So.
Hi. To turn that around to a question, I was wondering if anyone has experiences or have seen or implemented successful initiatives or programs in their companies or have seen them implemented in other companies and groups, and where that initiative has started, whether that's come from leadership or from grassroots.
Is it you want to? Okay.
Thank you so much. This is actually great. It's like we're passing a baton around, So the thing that has made me feel safest in technology and most like I have a future in this industry has been getting to know other, let's just say, engineers from underrepresented groups. And actually, there is a Slack channel that I'm in that literally is the wind under my wings. It is the fire in my blood. It is the only thing that keeps me going a lot of the time, is knowing that I can reach out to other people who have had similar, often identical experiences of the bad stuff that can happen to us, which I'm not going to name. So having those experiences validated, knowing that you're not crazy, that it is real. And I was also already kind of primed for those experiences or primed to be in a group like that because I went to a women's college. And to a large extent, I attribute the fact that I am now an engineer to the fact that I went to a women's college and that for a while I had a safe space. I had a place where I could, be wrong in math class without being made fun of, like at my big math science high school. So in response to the question of like places where I have seen kind of diversity done right, I had a CTO who was female at my last company. And while she was there, we knew that we had a voice. And it wasn't just women that she advocated for at the company. It was a variety of people who you don't see as engineers. There is I almost want to call it a lineage of black engineers at that company now, due mostly to the incredible talents that they possess, but also due to the fact that she, as a leader, was willing to put herself out there and take personal risks, argue with the business side to get these people jobs and then to protect them. It's the same with female engineers at that company. She left, and suddenly we started leaving too. So how do you get past then that initial hump of like you need one person to start it? Okay, so you run 2 meetups, right? And I think the question that you're asking is how do I start it? How do I put this seed in the ground? I think you need to find some people in your community. Maybe you have like a women who code type of meetup. Maybe you have a some kind of coding education programs. It's funny that this is where I tell you to look for female engineers, in the diversity and education communities. And here we are too. You find somebody and you let them know that they are going to have power, that it is not an empty thing that you are giving them, that you are not asking them to be on your panel and then not listening to their hiring recommendations. Or when they suggest, hey, why don't we give discounted tickets to, the kids from this high school? Why don't we give discounted tickets to members of this, women's Learn to Node meetup group, if such a thing were to exist? You say, instead of, oh God, but that would cut into the bottom line for the meetup for this month. I don't know. You say, yes, I think I'm listening to you and I'm going to make the things that you think are important happen. You have to, it's what delegation always consists of, because you're asking, in some sense, you have influence, how do you delegate it effectively? You find people and you trust them. And when you trust them, they will trust you. And building that is what is so difficult. Also, when you fuck up, you say sorry very quickly.
Thank you. That was fantastic. And I really hate to end this because I really think we're in a great conversation. But the next session is coming in. So thank you all. And as far as kind of back to your point, I love the point you made. We got a group of people here, and there's always going to be somebody here or there that says some really stupid stuff. And that's unfortunate, and one thing we can do is work on getting better at addressing the stupid stuff and rejecting that as any sort of line of thinking that the large group, I would say 98% of the people are on board with what we want to do here. It's the 2 that sometimes you just want to You know, so that's one thing we could do better at, right? So thank you for coming. I do have some IBM sweatshirts. If anybody's interested, they just have IBM on them. They are at our booth, and you can just come by and get one there. Just a thank you for showing up, and grab some snacks on the way out. Have a great day.